But again, as I mentioned, me and my co-founder Adam, we truly believe that custom isn't the route for every single business. So maybe that's your next question. Is custom right for my business? Now, we fully believe that you should not need a full technical background to understand this. And there's really three options that you can choose from when you're a business owner and you know that you need to replace your software. The first one is pretty simple. It is an off-the-shelf solution. So off-the-shelf software just is something basic. It's something that you can understand like software or HubSpot. It's something that's pre-built, that's commercialized, that's, QuickBooks, that's, Shopify, that's Salesforce, all those software, right? You pay a monthly amount. You have some onboarding. It's a little bit more expensive at the beginning, but then you just pay on a monthly period, usually on a per user basis, maybe sometimes a usage basis. And, there's an updates that occur. It's not fully tuned to your business, but usually can get you close enough. So this makes sense if your business follows pretty similar standard practices and you get in the software and you go, wow, I can do most everything that I need to. Or maybe you're someone who's just starting out, or maybe you have limited funds, or you just need something moving really quickly. Off the shelf is going to be better for you, especially if you're under $1 million. I would say try to focus on doing all that you can with off the shelf solutions, because as you begin to have more of those things, if it doesn't do exactly what you need it to, you can do some workarounds for a year or two as you generate more revenue and ultimately generate more opportunity to potentially building custom. But it'll help you at least articulate having a solution on what you wish it did, what features you wish it had, what is frustrating about it, what do you wish that it was more tailored to your business. So you can start articulating those things even with an off-the-shelf solution. Now, what you have to understand is, it really bounds you to a specific feature set, to a roadmap. It's not going to be custom to your business, but again, they're usually well commercialized where they cover a lot of their bases. But again, there's just limited customizations. Integrations can at times be a challenge, and you're just kind of bound to whatever they see fit as a roadmap. So if you really need something built, you're just kind of up to their development team on whether or not they're going to prioritize it for your needs, which is oftentimes not the case. But we say off the shelf is great. If you're starting off, you have limited cash, do that. And so if you have broken software, you don't have much cash, you can't justify a big cost, or you do the numbers, it just doesn't make sense, then I would look at maybe something off the shelf instead of building custom. We're going to go to the other end of the extreme before we go to the third option. So the first end of the extreme is just get something off the shelf, get up moving, get revenue generating. And then the other end of the spectrum, as we talked about, is custom. Now, fully custom, again, it's just like building a house, right? It's specifically built for your business, designed around your exact processes, and incorporated your terminology, the way that your data flows, connecting all your tools together. And I'll kind of make a note here about custom software. Some of you are probably asking, well, what if I have a legacy platform, a legacy software system? And I'm not sure, do I need to rebuild it, or do I need to instead have it just fixed? Well, that's a challenging thing to answer not knowing your circumstance, but I would explain it like this. Let's say you buy a house, it's from the 1920s, right? It's beautiful. We have plenty of these here in the Tennessee area. And sometimes you stay away from those houses, and contractors might understand what I'm talking about. Because the house looks beautiful, but underneath there's a lot of cracks in the foundation. The bones really aren't good. It's going to be, a tear down stud remodel, so that you might go into it for $500,000, but spend another $500,000 just getting it to a place where it looks nice. That's oftentimes if you have really legacy software, again, 20, 30 plus years old, where a lot of things are broken, a lot of data fields aren't being used anymore. That's kind of the cracks in the foundation situation where you could easily spend more money trying to find, a legacy developer who works in some legacy code base or some language that people don't use anymore. And that can become really expensive really fast, especially if they have to do the diagnostic and they have to go in and try to, modernize it. And if they have to take it over from somebody else, that also becomes expensive, because just like with a handyman or contractor, let's say a guy comes in and just kind of puts duct tape behind the walls and drywall and paints over it. You can do the same thing with code, where someone who maybe really understands architecture and the coding language should come in to do a good job, but then they tear the walls open to do what they need to do and realize that this was built terribly, that this needs to be kind of brought down to the studs. The same thing can happen with custom software. So that's what I mean by sometimes it is just more cost effective to just start from scratch. Let's just figure out how can we do this fresh instead of trying to piece this thing that's already too far gone, should have been killed off decades ago. So again, what does custom really mean? Well, custom, like I mentioned, is, building something, that custom house that we're talking about. Instead of remodeling, it's building from the ground floor, starting down at the foundation, building it all the way back up. And there's a lot of myths surrounding it, like it's always prohibitively expensive. Well, true, while the cost is higher up front, again, you don't have to deal with that always constant subscription fees. And especially as you grow and you have more people, you have to pay for more subscriptions. It can actually be more cost effective, as we've seen, especially if your ROI is there. And that allows you to, pay once and to have unlimited users as your business grows. That can actually be more cost effective depending on your business again. You can say, well, it takes forever to build. Actually, with more modern frameworks, especially how we run our business, we're able to really quickly move fast because development isn't quite what it used to be. Something that you would spend $500,000 on, you can do for 100, 150,000. Why? Because there's a lot of ways that there's a lot of methodologies and tools that help you create a really robust web application or piece of software that kind of comes out of the box with what you need to where you don't have to through every little minutia and piece, but that you can kind of bring the architecture together to build something really robust. That's the most technical that we'll get into it today, but ultimately to say that allows us to be a lot more quick in our development time while still having a ton of really good quality and battle tested software. Other people can say, well, it's just too risky. Well, with the proper planning and experience, custom software is actually the least risky option. Again, that's why as a software development company, we take on that risk. We offer unique guarantees within the business that no one else offers, which is a money back guarantee, a 24-hour response guarantee, and 0 bugs forever guarantee, meaning if we build you a piece of software, we will maintain it as we built it in perpetuity, so forever. No one else is offering one of those, much less all 3 of them. And why is that? Because we want to make this such an easy process for you. And if you, again, don't work with us, that's totally fine. Just find a software developer who will back their work, who will ensure their work, and make sure that when they're building something, that they're doing something, that they're building something exactly for what you need it to be, and that they can't, pull one over on you. And in addition, this can be even risky for software that you use out of the box. Let me explain one situation that we had with a client. So they paid us first to do a discovery. So we came into their business, understood what they're looking to solve for. Their business is really unique, kind of the situation that we talked about in the first video, where their business is unique enough to where they have pieces of software to manage the operations of the business, but really how revenue is recognized is very unique. And so there's a lot of friction with actually getting customers sold, getting customers into the system, and then managing on the platform. The back end was better with the platform that they had. So they kept talking to that platform. They're saying, we can't do this. We can't support the specification that you need. And so they're like, so they went and spent a year talking to other vendors, ultimately to find out, no one's going to be able to support this. They talked to the existing vendor again, and the VP research and development at that company said, hey, I think you guys should just continue to use our platform, but have someone build something and we can connect the two together so we can give you that custom workflow for how your business uniquely runs and make sure that the data flows into the operations. They said, perfect. So they hired us to come in to figure out what to build, what we need to do, how it would fit into the current system. Everything was going smooth, super great for the first month or so. And then all of a sudden, that same VP of L&D started to turn on us. So it went from, yeah, we can do it. This is how we're going to do it. And then super excited to work together to all of a sudden them being very combative. it became a huge risk all of a sudden, because then they weren't going to play ball. So they're spending $20,000 a year, a software vendor, who suggested them to find a custom software development company to help solve their problems, all of a sudden became hostile, even though they're ones who suggested it. So sometimes even these subscriptions can be very risky because they get you tied down and committed to them and reliant on them. So just keep that in mind. So again, if you're thinking about custom, really think about, is the way that you do business truly unique? Like we mentioned in the last example, yes, that company really did have an interesting, different way in how they recognized revenue that didn't fit with their operations platform. And they did a ton of research and found out ultimately, no one can support this. Or maybe you've tried off-the-shelf options and you really hit the limitations. Or maybe, again, a lot of the customers that we run into, they've been around for 20, 30, 40, 50 years, and they have software that is 20 or 30 plus years old. And it's becoming just such a bottleneck that you need to update and modernize and refine to the 21st century, that you can't go to something off the shelf because you're too used to this piece of software. You just need to build it exactly custom. That totally makes sense. And then lastly, does the ROI calculator show you that there's enough opportunity here to where you will absolutely make money and grow much quicker if you can really tailor the software to your business? Now, let's set some realities. Custom software usually typically starts $50,000 for some simple applications, and again can go, usually around 120, 150 is more reasonable, 250 on the upper end, $500,000 if it's really, really, really complex and enterprise. But again, you should know what your opportunity cost enough is to understand what you should actually afford and what your break even should be. Now, one last thing here I wanted to mention is there is one other sneaky one that's in between custom, again, at this end, and off the shelf at this end. There's actually an in between. It's a lot more cost effective. And for those businesses that are right on the cusp of, maybe you've just hit over $1 million, $1.5 million, you don't have a ton of margin to justify spending $150,000, $200,000 on custom software, but you've outgrown your off-the-shelf solution. Then the middle of the ground API integrations is going to be a great option for you. What does that ultimately mean? It allows you to take your off-the-shelf softwares, if they're modern, and be able to have them work together and integrate them together to where they can give you that custom feel, or even some of those custom workflows with the existing software that you have. Because ultimately, a custom software development company should not just want to be hacking away at everything. We want to, like we talked about with all our customers, a custom software development shop should try to keep your business as normal operating as possible. And so this is a really great way to do that through API integration. Again, an application programming interface, or API, is just essentially doors within a software that it can send packages back and forth to. It literally just makes sure that data can flow back and forth between two pieces of software. So the really cool thing that you can do with this is, for something like 15, 20, maybe on the upper end, $50,000, but usually between $5,000 and $50,000, you can build some kind of middleware, some type of middle of the road software that allows you to connect things together, that pushes data out from one place as a single source of truth into multiple software, so that you don't have to do them independently, but it can flow data out where it needs to. It can also be a single place of data so that you can pull custom reporting and dashboards from that spot as well. So again, this is going to be specifically for maybe the person who's doing $1 million, $1.5 million. Again, not a ton of margin to fully justify custom, but you're really starting to feel squeezed from the off-the-shelf solution. Then building some kind of API to kind of connect your software together. If you're using 5, 6, 7 different tools to manage your operations and your customers, and that's a really good place to start. And that can actually build the groundwork and for the custom software development that you might want to do later on as you begin to outgrow that as well. And that is the end of this video. And I hope that you got a ton of value out of it. There's one last thing I want to leave you with. I hope that you've gotten clarity to where you can at least understand like what is the problems you're actually solving for with the software within your business, understanding the numbers behind what those problems are, what your options are, and what might be best for you. If you still feel like you don't know where to go, or maybe you're excited to explore custom software, but you're scared to go to Upwork or Fiverr and start putting inquiries out, or maybe you're really intimidated talking to custom software development shops, I will give anyone who's doing this course a free hour of my time where we can sit down with me and my co-founder, Adam, and we will look at your software. We'll hear more about your business and what you're looking to do. We'll give you unbiased, so we'll tell you if you think you should do off the shelf or API work or custom software development. And we'll even take a look at your software if you want us to give some ideas, and we'll give you some free value on what we suggest you to do next. Again, completely free. You can take that and even those ideas and that roadmap and shop it out to other software development companies. And I'll leave that in the comment section below. I might have to remove it if I get too overbooked. So please, slots are limited. Get a time down when you can. And again, we'll personally meet. We'll assess your situation for free and give you some suggestions on what you should do next. Again, my name is Jacob Haynes. Thank you so much for joining me, and I hope to see you in the future.